Hello, hi, good morning, namaste, my dear student. In today's video lecture, it is the first video lecture of grade 10, class 10, and also of unit fast. And this video is made on the topic of scientific study, okay? And this video is only for grade 10 only. And please like, subscribe, and share my channel, Digital SNK YouTube channel. Now, without doing a delay, we will start your video here. First of all, in this chapter, we are going to be study about physical quantity. What is the physical quantity? Okay. So generally, physical quantity mean okay. So physical quantity mean those type of quantity which can be measured directly or indirectly are called physical quantity. Point out, my dear students, I want to say that here those type of quantity that can be measured directly or indirectly. Now here the point, what is the directly and what is the indirectly? Okay, so the directly mean likewise measurement of the table. Okay, by using the measuring tape you can measure the distance of the, I can say, the length of the table by using generally the what measurement tape. But indirect mean those type of measurement, or you can say those type of calculation we cannot do it by using the measuring tape. Like with the example here, if you calculate the area of any table, okay, if you calculate any area of any table, so you cannot calculate the area of a table by using what measuring taps. I hope you understand, guys, what I want to say. So on the basis of what is the physical quantity, so those type of quantity which can be measured by directly or indirectly are called physical quantity. I hope you understand, and take a screenshot of this slide. And now we move into the next things here. What is the variability? Okay, in the science, when we do an experiment, when they will perform different type of experiment, so during this condition there is a different condition, like as a different factor that change your experiment. So actually the variability is any type of factor or traits or a condition that can exist in different amount of the time. So generally the variability means a kind of the factor or condition that can exist in different amount of time. Actually, now how many types of variability? We understand the types of the variability here. So generally the variabilities are categorized into three types. Among them, first one is independent variables, and upon that dependent variable, and the last one is control variable. Now we going to understand about what is independent variable. After that, what is dependent variable, what is control variable. Okay, when you perform any experiment during this condition, what things we keep it constant, we call it as also a control variable. And what we cause in the experiment, okay, if we any change occur in the experiment, then there is a surely any cause, so there is a surely effect. Okay, so what we cause in the experiment, that is independent variable, and after the cause there is a one effect occur. Okay, so this effect is depend on independent variable. So the dependent variable is a, you can say, effect of cause. Now we look it one by one. Please take its screenshot. After that, move here. So the independent variable, okay, so independent variable is a factor in an experiment. Where I want to say here, in an experiment. Okay, it is a factor in an experiment that is changed or controlled by the scientist to test its effect on the dependent variable. Okay, so the independent variable mean those type of factors in the experiment that can change or controlled by the scientist, or you can say that can controlled by the person who are performing this experiment, and it affects on the dependent variable. Already I told you, effects of the experiment depend on dependent variable. Let's understand by the its example. before taking an example, we also clear about what is the dependent variable. Likewise here, okay. So if you take another example of the independent variable, like here, independent variable is the factor in a scientific experiment that the researcher intentionally change or manipulate in order to observe its effect and another variable. I want to say that here, a person who taking the experiment that can change the experiment or we say manipulate it, but in the if you take in the context of the dependent variable, okay, what's in the dependent variable? So the dependent variable is the factor that is observed and measured during an experiment. It is the result or outcome of independent variables, okay, or you can say it is a result of outcomes, or you can say effect of the independent variable. I also told you in the previous time the both dependent and independent variables are connect to each other, okay. So like if you take the example, if you take its definition, yeah, so the independent variable is the factor that is observed and measured during an experiment, okay. When you're taking an experiment, when it performs an experiment, and during this time, if you performs an experiment during there is occurrence any changes, okay. So these changes also we can call a dependent variable. We understand it by the example after a few times. Now, first of all, uh, we're going to back on its categories in like this way. So if you take its only examples of dependent variable and independent variable, and during this time we understand this point by taking an example. First of all, guys, you consider in your mind variation, its type dependent and independence only occur during the experiment, okay. Let's it's the understand by the examples, okay. If you grow a plant, likewise plant A and plant B and plant C, okay. If you grow a plant A, plant B and plant C, in the in a plant A, if you supply 25 degrees Celsius temperature and the plant B supply 30 degrees Celsius temperature, and in the plant C if you supply 35 degrees Celsius temperature, okay. And plant A height growth, okay, if you take its growth rate, okay, if you take its growth rate, then at that time plant A can grow 5 meter long in the 25 degrees Celsius, but plant B in a 30 degrees Celsius it can grow 6 meter its height, okay. In the condition of 35 degrees Celsius, these same plants grow into 7 meter heights, okay. So here is the main things we consider. If you change the temperature here, okay, if you change the temperature, then it effects will be depends its effect will be changed. Likewise, if we supply the 25 degrees Celsius in the plant A, then only its growth is 5. So this means the growth is depend on where height. If we change the temperature, then its growth is also changed. So the growth is responsible, or you can say growth is fully depend on the where in the temperature. So these are the first columns. We can call it as a independent. It is denoted by ID. Okay, I am denoted here by the ID, independent variables. And the growth in the second column we can say it as a dependent. What's dependent? Only I am right here D only. Okay, if we understand it. So here its growth rate is depend on the temperature. If you varying the temperature, then its growth is automatically change. Okay. After that, if you growing a plant then type of soil and type of fertilizer, I can say amount of fertilizer supplementary, these are the same. Okay, likewise soil, fertilizer, and many more things. Okay, we keep it constant here. I hope you understand it. Let's understand it by the another example. I hope you understand it here. I'm keeping some example in the phone slide. I'm going to be change this slide. I hope please take a screenshot of the slide now. Okay, here we understand about what is the control variables. Okay, control variables, also known as constant variables. Constant are all the factors in experiment that must be kept the same to ensure that the results are valid and reliable. By controlling these variables, scientists make sure that only factor affecting the dependent variable is the independent variables. Control variable mean only the constant, whatever we can keep constant in the experiment. So these things we known as control variable. Some examples here of the control variables. Likewise, subject of the research. Okay, and there is a dependent, and there is is independent and dependent and controller. If you take the example of the relation of a rotating knob of a tape and the rate of flow of the water. Okay, I hope you understand this example in your house. In the water tap, if you rotate the knob of the water, so guys, if you rotate the knob of the waters, then the flow of the amount will be what? Increase. If you open the knob of the water taps, then the flow of water per unit time is also increase. If you close it, then the flow of the water in per unit time also be decreased. So I want to say that in the independent, if we rotate its magnitude, if you rotate the knob of the magnitudes, then the flow of water per unit time is changed. So the flow of water is depend on the independent. Okay. So the flow of water dependent on the rotating of the knob because it's the magnitude of the knob. Okay. But guys, here we not consider about the thickness of the pipes and water density and pressure and so many more things. We keep it constant here. We not consider about density of the water and size of the pipe and pressure. We can keep constant here, but we take here only two things. Here the if you rotating the magnitude of the knob of a tap water, then if you more open the knobs, then the flow of water per unit time is more. If you less open the knob of the tap, then its flow of water per unit time is going to be less. We understand why it's another example like effect of a fertilizer on the crop. Likewise, type or amount of fertilizer used. Okay, whatever fertilizer you use in your field and how much you use in your field. Likewise, if you use 1 kg of fertilizer, okay, 1 kg of fertilizer, then our crops will be healthy. I can say grow many more crops. But we can keep here crop variety, soil type, water, and climate change, pressure, and many more things in that condition. But only we take the fertilizer, I will say fertilizer type, I will say amount of the fertilizer. Likewise, if you take a 1 kg fertilizer in a field, then if you take in a 1 kg fertilizer, our plant grow 2 kg crops. Okay, but if you take 2 kg crops, our crop production will be increased by 4 times, okay, like 4 kg. Here is okay. So here's the condition. If we wish 1 kg of fertilizer, then our production will be increased 2 kg, and if you use 2 kg of fertilizer, then our crop production is 4 kg. So the crop production is totally depend on the fertilizer. If you submit a more amount of fertilizer, then our crops product will be increased. If we take it inversely, I can say less amount of fertilizer, then our crop production also less. But here you keep constant soil type and climate and many more things. Okay. After that, I hope you understand this video or these things, this concept. Please take a screenshot. That's here is also another example of dependent, independent, and controller. Here is also another example like with the plant growth experiment. If we take the plant growth experiment, then there is the amount of sunlight, how much sunlight the plants receive. Okay, I want to say that in a short period of time, how much sunlight a plants can absorb during a day, and by observing light, the plant's growth or with the plant's height or the number of the leaves, number of the roots, okay, number of the shoots, number of the branching in the tree occurring. So here the plant growth, okay, simply the plant growth is fully dependent on the where amount of the sunlight. If the plant get sufficient amount of the sunlight, then the plant will be indefinitely growth, healthy plant. But if the plant unable to take a limit unnecessary amount of the sunlight, then the plant unable to properly grow. So for I want to say that here, so the height of the plant, or you can say leaf of the plants, will fully depend on the sunlight. If it get a proper amount of the sunlight, then it's the growth of the plant will be maintained. So the growth of the plant is depend on the sunlight. If they don't get sunlight, then they don't grow properly. But here we are considering, we are keeping constant amount of soil, type of soil, and climatic condition, atmospheric pressure, and water filling. Okay, so these things are we keep it at constant. We just only take sunlight and the plant growth rate only here. Okay, guys, I hope you understand, guys. These things, take the screenshot. Now I am going to be change this slide. Now we move into the next portion. What is the unit and what are the type of the unit? Before starting doing some numericals, to understand about what is units and what are the types of the units. So generally units of a measurement is defined, magnitude of a quantity that is defined and adopted by convention or by law and used as a standard for measuring the same kind of quantity. So generally guys, unit are those symbol that are used internationally, and these unit are convinced by, generated by, accepted by internationally. I can say that is a one type of conventional law that is oriented by in a like the parliaments. Okay, so the unit like meter, kilogram, liter. Okay, so these are the units. And if you take this type of the unit, so if we take the type of the units, so the units are categorized into two types. Among them, one is fundamental unit and another is drive unit. So fundamental unit means the basic units, and drive units mean those units which are derived from the fundamental units. Okay, drive unit mean those units which are derived from the fundamental units, and fundamental units mean a single unit that does not depend on other units. It is single only. We understand. Let's write these examples. Likewise, the unit of measurement which does not depend upon any other units are called fundamental units, and it is seven type of only. Okay, it's only seven type. Likewise, some example here like meter, kg, second, candela, mole, Kelvin, and so many more. Okay, just only seven type. But the drive quantity, if you take the drive units, those units of measurement which are expressed in the term of the fundamental units. Okay, after later you understand it. How can you express the fundamental units? Okay, so those type of units which are expressed in the term of the fundamental units are called drive unit, like area, volume, velocity. Okay, I'm taking some example here to clear your concept. Likewise, if you measure a distance, then you use the meter measuring tape. Okay, so you measure in the meter. If you measure the length of the and distance, then you use measuring tape and you measure it in the SI unit system meter. Distance you can length, length. Okay, length of the table, road, anything you measured in the meter. But if you take the area, okay, area of any floor, area of any rectangles room, okay. So during this condition, if you take the measurement of the area of any rectangle room, then you can you can calculate its length and its breadth. Okay. During this condition, so length is measured into meter, and also the breadth is also measured in meter. The both meter and meter equal to meter square. I want to say that the area is measured into meter, but here is two units of the basic unit. Okay, so that's why these units are called as a drive unit. If you take the example of the volume, velocity, okay, that also give like this way. We understand it one by one in the next slide. I hope you understand about drive unit and fundamental unit. Once again, I am going to be summarize it. Like the fundamental unit mean a king unit that does not depend into another unit. If we take drive unit, this mean that is depend on fundamental unit. Simply, fundamental unit is king unit, and depend unit and drive unit is on king, like as a dog, and this one's like as a tiger unit. Okay. So if you take the context of drive unit, the drive unit fully depends on fundamental unit, and fundamental is single unique king of the jungle. Okay, that's by example, only for the joke. Now next, so here is we are going to be understand here some example, and also going to understand how much fundamental units involves in our drive units. Okay, we are going to be understand here one by the example what are the fundamental unit that involves into a drive unit. Like if we take the example of the area, okay, so the area is a drive unit. If you measure the area, it's measured into the square meter. Okay, it's formula to calculate the area. If you take the calculate the formula of rectangle, then you can use the length into breadth. So basic units are meter into meter. This will be give us meter into meter, and finally meter square. I hope you understand about the area's formula. After that, volume. Okay. After that, if we are going to understand about the volume, here, here in the display board, cut out volume. Okay, you can copyright from here. Okay, volume. Once again, I will write here the volume. Okay, so volume measured into length into breadth into height. So length is also measured into meter, and breadth is also measured into meter, and height is also measured into meter. So these things meter in going to be meter cube. If you take the example of the speed or velocity, so the velocity is measured into the meter per second. So meter per second, likewise you can write it also like this way, meter by seconds. Okay, so meter is here the meter per second. So meter mean we can calculate the distance of any traveling object in the scale of what distance. Okay, and here is the time. Time you can calculate by the second. So distance upon time taken. So the distance upon time taken, we can measure the distance of any points by unit of meter, and a time by unit of second. So it give us meter per second is per second. Okay, only we can write it like this way also, like meter and second power minus 1. It's a basic rule of the indices. I hope you understand it. Okay, these things and these things, okay, the both are the same. It is not any mistake, just only the simple concept of the indices. After that, I'll move into the next slide, including pressure. Okay, pressure. We'll move into the next slide, pressure. So pressure, if you take the pressure, so pressure is measured into force upon area, how much pressure exerted on a area. So pressure measured into force upon area. So the force upon area here is force upon area, FORC, force upon area, force upon area. So the generally force is measured into, okay, force is measured into kg mass per second square in this unit. Okay, but area is measured into what, meter square. Area is measured into meter square. I already solved it in the previous slides. The force is measured into kg meter and second square per second square. Okay, how the force basic units will become kg meter and second per second square, you understand the next slide. Okay, so the finally this will be give us kg meter power minus 1 into second power minus 2. After that, I hope you understand it. Now I am going to change on the slide here. You understand how do these units are written and what are the unit that's involved into the, what are the fundamental unit that's involved into the drive units. Okay, I hope you understand it. So like if you take here the example of the work and energy, okay, its basic unit is kg meter square per second square. So I hope you understand and about. Okay, in the slide I just only show the slide here and you can understand it by the slides. Like if you take the example the watt, okay, as a unit of the watt, formula is power upon power equal to work upon time, and here is the calculation of the all things is volt also is calculated here, volt. Okay, after the electric charge, and then after in the above slide there is a frequency. Okay, so frequency measured in the hertz and its formula is 1 upon time taken. If you take the formula of the frequency, guys, so in different situation the formula of the frequency is also changed. So here is you can calculate 1 by time seconds, and perhaps the momentum unit is kilometer per second, formula is mass into the velocity, and basic unit kg into meter per second, and another is in the above side is the impulses. Okay, it's impulse, I'm right here. Impulse, okay, I'm right here, the impulse. So the impulse is measured into force into time, and after that force into time, and the force at the time give us kg into meter per second. After that in the surface tension, if you take the surface tension, similarly here the surface is also given here. After that in the Pascal, okay, that's the pressure, then the pressure is measured in the Pascal unit, and here the formula of the pressure, force upon the area, and force is also calculated by this way in the previous slide. I hope you understand it how to calculate it. Just look, it's some already solved those unit which are different into the fundamental studies. So this much is only for these videos, and for the next concept I will keep you a next video, and I hope you watch the next video. In the next video, guys, in the next video we study on about unit wise test analysis and homogeneity equation. After that, complete overview of this unit 1 scientific study will complete. Now thank you to watching this video, and please like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel. Okay, thank you guys.